Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Stephen. 1 second. I'm about to send you a new version of the. I just fixed some formatting, so I'm just sending you a new thing here real quick. Just calling it NADCAP webinar.
Yeah, I had a few. I couldn't get into the internet a minute ago. I sort of logged on sooner. I'm all right now, though. There's no problem now.
Okay, good.
This about right. There we go.
This is in. I'm not able to send this to you. Do you mind if I present the webinar and you just talk and just let me know when you want me to change slides?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, that's not an issue. What have you changed? Is it the slide deck you've changed, or just?
It's just the formatting. All the content is the same. It's just the slide
Okay.
deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just.
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Just see if I can finally do this. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll be about to start. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Andrew. A little bit quieter, but yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, I will start with the introductions.
Turn my volume up high.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to today's webinar, Why NADCAP Matters, Ensuring Quality in Aerospace Manufacturing. Your presenter today is Stephen Hall. Stephen is a seasoned quality professional with over 35 years of experience across the aerospace, automotive, and commercial sectors, from production and inspection to senior leadership. He's a certified lead auditor for ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 45001, AS 9100, AS 9110, and IATF 16949, and he has worked globally with leading organizations such as Rolls-Royce, Boeing, Airbus, BAE, Safran, and Bombardier. Stephen brings deep expertise in auditing, supplier quality, and process improvement, with strong command of methodologies like AS 9102, first articles, 8D, 5Ys, 5S, control plans, and PFMEAs. With more than 15 years in management, he's known for his ability to communicate complex quality concepts clearly and help organizations achieve measurable, sustainable improvement. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, I kindly ask that you type them in the chat box, and we will address as many as we can at the end of the webinar. We also kindly ask that all participants complete the survey afterward. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. If you would like a PDF copy of the presentation or the webinar recording, please contact us at webinars@omnex.com. Now, without further ado, please welcome Stephen.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that, Andrew. It's a pleasure to meet everybody this morning. And we're going to do an overview today of why NADCAP matters, especially in the aerospace industry. As we know, there is a lot of processes that are used and that are valid against NADCAP, heat treatment, chemical plating, just being two of those. If we can start with the slide deck. As you've already heard, Andrew's introduced myself. And Omnex itself, as you can see, we are headquartered in Ann Arbor and we have facilities worldwide. We've got 16 offices, as you can see. We've trained over more than 5,000 individuals in lots of the methodologies and lots of the standards. We cover all of the standards. We also do other training on internal audits. We do gap analyses. We do a lot of different things. So we're not just sectioned in one section. We cover everything. We cover a lot of different things globally, yeah? If we can go down to the next one. So we have a lot of people that are on the writing committees, as you can see here, FMEA, SPC, MSA, Core Tools, just to name a few of them. We work with the medical industry as well. We do a lot of ISO 26262, and we have a lot of people on that that are experts on that and on the writing committees. Our owner of the company, Chad, is very active in that indeed. We cover everything else from carbon net zero. As you can see down there, we do a lot of AI functional testing. We have our own AR bots as well. We have Audit Pro. We have a lot of different things within Omnex. So we're not just considered as consultants and trainers. This is an overview of the offices, and you can see we have a lot of offices spread across the globe. And we've been around, as you can see, for over 30 years. So what is NADCAP? At the end of the day, it's a National Aerospace Defense Contractors Accreditation Program. A lot of people, when they first see it, are like, oh my God, what is this? What's it all about? Well, it's a very rigorous yet rewarding accreditation program for the aerospace, defense, and engineering sectors. It's been put in place specifically to ensure that we are doing things correctly around, and it's very open and transparent. You can go onto the NADCAP site, PRIEN, and you can look at any accreditation you want. You can have a look at all the procedures that are pertinent to you, whatever you're following as regards NADCAP requirements. Go to the next slide. It's an accreditation that demonstrates your proven ability to deliver consistent high-quality processes in areas such as heat treatment, non-destructive testing, your chemical processing. It assures your own customers that the suppliers are aligned with those best practices, minimizing your risk, enhancing your overall supply chain performance. And NADCAP accredited companies have been visible throughout the industry. For over 60 OEMs participate in that program. A lot of the large primes participate in this. And it's a very transparent site when you go on there. Anybody that's accredited to NADCAP, you can see what accreditations they've got and how long they've had those accreditations. The process itself is very meticulous. Unlike some of your audits that we have, what you'll find with NADCAP, it is very meticulous, and it goes through all the particular areas, whether your heat treatment and the requirements of pyrometry around heat treatment, for example, chemical plating, pH in the water, what chemicals you're using. It is a very meticulous audit, and it covers everything, right? It serves as a collaborative effort between your suppliers, the customers, and your industry representatives, yeah? We make key decisions such as identifying those processes that need the audits. We determine which suppliers achieve accreditation, yeah? And it's made by all of the industry professionals. Certain auditors will cover maybe two of the processes. A lot of auditors will pin themselves in one area where they might just do heat treatment, for example, or chemical plating, okay? What is the NADCAP process? Well, basically the accreditation process starts anywhere between 9 and 12 months before you even get your audit. You need to download, review the required audit criteria and the handbooks and guides. So when you go onto PRIEN, There's handbooks and guides there that explain to you how to set your account up and what you need to do next. So you create an audit plan, you select and train your auditors. So you need to train your internal auditors. You need to take a training course around that through NADCAP, yeah? You need an audit preparation course on your commodity, and it needs to be NADCAP style orientated. 6 to 9 months before your audit, you schedule your initial NADCAP audit in PRI. You confirm your personnel that are available. Make sure and so this sometimes some people forget to do this. If you've got vacations or part-time personnel, make sure that if they're going to be involved in the audit, they are there. Okay. Declare if your ITAR or EAR status of your facility. Update the subscriber list and either upload your QMS certification or schedule an Aerospace Quality Systems QAS NADCAP audit. It's very important that you follow these processes, okay? 3 to 6 months before your audit, continue working on whatever your action plan is. Review your audit plan and follow up any corrective actions. Make sure the effectiveness of those actions, okay? And then review your revised procedures. Part of NADCAP is making sure you've got all your procedures in the right place, yeah? You will get scrutinized a lot on different areas, okay? And you need to follow the format of what NADCAP are asking you to do. 30 to 90 days before the audit. There's an important point here. The 30-day point is you need to submit a pre-audit 30 days before. So conduct a thorough self-audit and address all identified non-conformances and make sure you've got adequate corrective actions in place. You will download the forms off NADCAP for whatever it is you're going to be doing. If it's a heat treatment, you will download the forms for that off the site. If it's welding, exactly the same. If it's chemical processing, you need to do exactly the same. Use the checklists. They come in a Word and Excel format, and they're on the PRI EAN site, okay? And to get to them, you can go into resources, documents, and then public documents, and then general NADCAP user. And in there, it has a whole list of everything, all of the forms that you will need, yeah? The information and the audit information is all in there. NADCAP will then review and update its document. It does review and update its documentation very often. And there's changes in these documents. So you need to make sure you are using the most up-to-date document. So before you submit, check and make sure that you have the one that's at the right status to be used. Okay. Review any applicable auditor advisories. And they're in there. They're on the site. They're on the NADCAP site. You go onto that site and it's clearly identified what the advisories are and if there are any current updates. Some examples. So when we talk about infractions, so infractions are to be expected throughout the audit process, especially in welding. An example here is a minor infraction would be a mix-up in the weld cabinet. So someone accidentally filing an 8-inch in a 3.2 spot, the same material but different size. Whereas a major infraction would consist of an entire lot of welded with the incorrect rod with a potential to bring of being delivered to the customer. So control checks are built into NADCAP process to make sure the process flows as they should. The biggest issue there with that infraction there is that mix-up of rods, if they're in the wrong place, the potential of someone who used the wrong rod, you will get a non-conformance for that. So it's important that you understand where you keep everything, especially from that point of view as welding. Yeah, make sure things are in the right place. If that's where they're meant to be, that's where they should be. Do not have mixed up rods or anything like that. You will get a non-conformance for that. Okay. Cadence. So when a company receives their NADCAP certification, they can move to what we call a yearly renewal basis. Now then, if the company performs well, with only a few minor marks after their second audit, the cadence between audits can get extended to 18 months. And then they are awarded a 24-month merit. An example here was Metal Techs in Wisconsin, Invest Cast Division, is currently on a 24-month merit and has been for the past 4 years running. If you constantly show that you are meeting the mark, you will get extended like Metaltech have. But it's down to you, how you control those processes and what you do to look after those, yeah? What does it do? What are the benefits of NADCAP? Well, it's our enhanced credibility at the end of the day. All of the standards that we use give us enhanced credibility, don't they? NADCAP is exactly the same. It serves an independent validation of your own capabilities, and it boosts confidence and trust with your customer. Primarily, like I say, the primes have a lot to do with this. The likes of Boeing, Airbus, Pratt & Whitney, all of these companies have a lot of involvement in NADCAP, yeah? It's access to new opportunities as well. With your NADCAP accreditation, it gives you the chance to enhance partnerships and contracts. Improves your process efficiency. Yeah. The audit process often identifies areas for process improvement. And again, it drives greater operational efficiency and cost saving within our companies. Yeah. You also become recognized because you have a NADCAP accreditation. And the more you follow the NADCAP principles within that, the better the enhancement for your company it will be. Achieving NADCAP accreditation, we want very careful preparation and a proactive approach. A lot of companies, they start off and they see what's involved in it and they suddenly think, really? Do I have to go through all of this? Well, yes, you do. And sometimes you'll get asked by your prime. It'll be your prime that tells you we need you NADCAP accredited. You may be doing chemical plating. One of the other sides that lets some people down sometimes is if you are using an independent third-party supplier for, let's say, your shot peening or shot blasting, sandblasting, is what are the controls in place at the source of that? Do they ensure that they don't cross-contaminate? In other words, are the booths that are being used clearly identified if you're doing aluminium, if you're doing titanium, if you're doing steel? You have to be aware of any cross-contamination. So in other words, do not, if you're doing it yourself, if you're using any shot peening, shot blasting, sandblasting, ensure that the booths are clearly identified and you do not mix up what's going in there. So in other words, don't put titanium in an aluminium booth. It has to be in its own particular booth, yeah? We need to understand and familiarize yourself with those NADCAP requirements and specifically the audit checklists that are pertinent to you and whatever it is you're going to be doing, or whatever you're using as an outsourced, if they are NADCAP approved, what is the controls they have at place? Yeah. But if you're going for NADCAP yourself, you need to make sure that we understand what checklists we're going to do. We need to regularly assess our own internal audits and the gaps if we have any. Yeah. We need to understand about what improvements are we going to put in place. Yeah. And follow the NADCAP criteria off the checklists. It's very important that we use those, okay? We should make sure we've got everybody trained. So anybody in the team that works on NADCAP needs to be trained and understand it. There is courses, we run courses ourselves. There are courses on NADCAP as well. There's a lot of information when you go onto PRIEAN. There is a lot of information. There's supplier handbooks. There's a lot you can do. And equally, we can assist you ourselves as well at Omnex, yeah? When you get your accreditation, like I said, it gives you a competitive advantage. It reinforces position and trust, yeah? And it shows that you're a high-performing supplier in the aerospace industry, which is what you're aiming for if you have any special processes. It's a very short presentation, as you have seen, but some of the key points to take away from what we've just presented, for example, is in my experience is we start off with great intentions of how we're going to run our NADCAP system and what we're going to do. And because of the amount of work that's involved in the checklists, and they are quite extensive checklists, you tend to find that then people sort of back off a little bit. Can I? Yes, I can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share one of the forms just to give you an example. Let me just open one up. I want to give you an example of one of the forms, everybody. I'm just going to pick any of the forms, to be honest with you.
Stephen, you'll have to share your screen.
Yeah, I'm just going to open it up first. Andrew, just one moment. I just want to get it open first, and then I'll screen share. What I want to do is show everybody one of the forms. So, everybody, what you can see here is one of the audit criteria for your NADCAP accreditation. So this is the generic form, AC 7000. When you go into this particular form, this covers, as we scroll down, you'll see the way it's laid out, it gives you information of how to respond, what you need to do, and prior to the audit. It gives you information about the prior of the audit, what you need to look at, where you need to go. It talks about the 30 days. It's very important that you submit your pre-audits 30 days before your actual audit. And it needs to be in this using the same checklist, the same forms that your NADCAP auditor is going to present. If you do not, you'll get a non-conformance for that immediately. And this is one area that gets missed by some auditors or auditees. They don't upload the forms 30 days before. It's a very, very important thing to do. As you go down, it then talks about the daily debriefs, your auditee responsibilities, the closing meetings. So this is a very generic form of how the format will start, what you're meant to do, your self-audit requirements. They come in a PDF. This isn't a PDF, but they come in a Word, and you need to go through. It says here, did you update 30 days before? You need to identify that you've done it, because you have to submit this form with whichever other form you're going to be using. So you need to make sure that you identify. Now, if something is not applicable, you also need to identify that and say that it isn't applicable. Normally, they'll ask you for justification of why it's not applicable as well. So as you go through this, you'll see who is the agency that's going to do it, what's the criteria, what is the standard. So there's a lot of things that you need to go through and understand and read. It's very important that you go through this particular form prior to getting your on-site audit. Now, NADCAP doesn't do remote audits. These are done on-site. So this particular form is the one that has to go in with your submittal. What you will then do is, depending on which area you wish to get your accreditation in, you will then select. Let me just open another one up for you. You will select the form that you need for whatever the process is you're going to be doing. Let's go with 701, which is the chemical process. Let me screen share again. If you're going along for chemical processing, for example, you need to ensure that you check the latest revision of what that form is. When we look at this one here, this is at Rev H at the moment, and you can see it was updated in March, but you do need, whoever it is that's going to be your administrator at your particular company, needs to go on to PRIEAN on a regular basis and check for any updates. You can also get a notification on there, and it will notify you when there is some changes. But it's very pertinent that you do it yourself. You do need to check and ensure that whatever you're using is the most up-to-date form as regards whatever the process is you're going to be doing. This particular one here is for chemical process and non-destructive testing. Pre-antigen etching and pre-etch inspection process, as you can see there. And they are very clear when you go into these forms. They are quite easy to follow, but there is a lot involved. You go through the first part of this, explains everything there is, instructions. It gives you the instructions and what you need to follow and how you need to do things. And we'll ask you for jobs. It will want to see things that have gone through that process. So when we look at this at chemical, at pre-etch and pre-penitent etch, it's going to tell us what job are we going to be using. Has the competency for all process personnel been defined? So it's yes or no. Okay. But you will say yes. They will want to see evidence of that. So they want to see training records. As you go down, it's going to tell you what handbooks to use. And there's handbooks for each one of these to follow to assist you. So as we go through all of this, is there any shot blasting? Is there any sandblasting? Is there any solvent clean done before? Do we mask it up? What is the masking process? What are the procedures for that? If it's in fixtures or racking, is it required or not required? Process cleaning, water breaks, free checks, pH checks, especially in chemical plating. So as we go through this, you can see there's a lot of questions to answer. And this is sometimes where some people are going and go, oh my God, there's loads to do. And there is. You can see there's in total, we have 39 pages to this particular one. And this is just one of them. So it's very important that we understand these. We download the right ones we have, we review them. And it's best, I find, I did one recently with a company over in Michigan. And we reviewed the whole document. We took the Word document and we went through it section by section. And for that particular company, because it was new to them, we found that was the best way. By doing it section by section, each question, we looked at what we currently had in place or didn't have in place and identified the gaps. That is the easiest way or the best way to do it, is to decide what the process is you're going to be doing, whether it's heat treatment, whether it's shot peening, whether it's welding, whether it's chemical plating, any of those. Download the correct form in a Word version and go through it step by step with a multidisciplinary team. Please don't just leave it to one person. It needs to be a multidisciplinary team, okay? And review each question and see if you have anything in place or not. And if you don't, you need some documentation. You need a procedure. You need training records, yeah? It's very important that you follow these to the letter, yeah? And this is what you would submit. If this is a chemical plating one you were doing for etch, you would submit this, okay? Along with the first form that I showed you. So it's important that you combine the two. And this would have to go in 30 days before. And the auditor will follow the same form and use the same checklist. But they'll want to see where you said yes, they'll want to see evidence of it. So you need to be prepared and make sure that you have the evidence to support everything that you've done. Okay. I do see there is one question in the chat at the moment. Just let me have a quick look at that one.
Yeah, the question is there any relationship between an AS9100 based certification and a NADCAP accreditation?
The only link to it is that some of your documentation will be pertinent as regards NADCAP. If you've got AS9100 and you're going for NADCAP, then some of your procedures, your training and everything else, some of those are pertinent, but does that give you a certification as regards moving towards NADCAP? It'll help you, yes, without a shadow of doubt, but it's not a, let me just read that question again. It's not overriding. NADCAP is completely separate, but it will support you in some of your processes, definitely. If you've got AS9100 and you have that in place, then yes, it is going to make life easier for you. Anybody that's in the aerospace industry, anybody that's on this webinar at the moment, I would envisage most of you have AS9100 and at a minimum ISO 9001 if you're working in the aerospace industry anyway. But yes, NADCAP would be a standalone. There is processes within your AS9100 that can marry across slightly, training, for example, HR, things like that, that are already covered in AS9100. So you wouldn't need to make new procedures. Some of your procedures that are in place for training and everything would just need to include then, if you train somebody to be an auditor for NADCAP, what do they do? What's the certification they got to be an internal auditor for that. But quite a lot of your processes that you have or procedures you have in place in AS9100 will be covered or will link across, yeah, in certain areas.
I have one other question. For any outsourced processes, what is the responsibility or what is your responsibility to ensure that they are either NADCAP accredited, or do you need to do your own audits of your suppliers
You
to ensure that they're
should.
complying?
Okay, so that's a good question. If they're an approved supplier and they have a NADCAP accreditation and your prime is asking, if you're using an outsourced supplier then and it's been approved by your customer, they must be on the NADCAP register and they will have that NADCAP accreditation. You can go onto PRI-EAN and it's on there. Anybody that you want to check up on, if you want to use, very fast chemical plating down the road, let's say, sorry about the name, but just one that sprang to my head, you can go on there and you can put the company in and you can see what accreditation they have. Do they have a merit? Are they on an 18-month merit, for example? They've got cadence and they're on an 18-month, or on a 24-month maybe. You can go and see that. But I always say that it is pertinent for you to double check that. So if you're going to use an outsourced supplier, you need to ensure that they are firstly NADCAP approved, and you can check that. If they tell you they are, you can check. You can go onto PRI-EAN and you can put the company's name in and it'll come up and it'll tell you. And it'll also tell you if they've had any non-conformances. It'll also tell you if they're on hold or if their certificate has been rescinded. So it's important that you do check that. I always say that even though they're on there, it's like any supplier that you want to put on your ASL, you should still go and visit them. You should still understand what that process is that's in place. So it's always a best practice that you go out there, as you would with any new supplier, to onboard them and understand what controls they have in place, what is their NADCAP certification that they have in place, and how long have they held it.
Okay, thank you.
No.
I think those are the only questions. Do you have any final thoughts before we close out the webinar?
The main thing for me is if anybody wants any help on this, and it can seem like a minefield at first. You go onto there and there's a lot of stuff. I have to admit, when you log on and you get your login and you go in there and you start looking, it's like, oh dear. And there is a lot to look at. But there is tutorials on there of how to use PRI-EAN itself, even to go onto that website and use it. There's good tutorials on there of how to navigate things on there. It looks like an awful lot, but once you get the right form, yeah, and the main thing is making sure you have the right form and you have the right help. Like I say, you can reach out to us or you can go into PRI itself and get the right help to understand which form you actually need. The biggest thing, Andrew, and the rest of you, is that you do that. You make sure you get the right form and you get the right support. Don't just go off on your own, because there's plenty of support out there, and we provide that support as well at Omnex. And that's the main thing for me, is making sure you have the right form. And then the second most important thing that a lot of companies forget to do is that 30-day submittal before your auditor comes. If you don't do that, then you'll get a non-conformance for not doing that in the first place. And that lets a lot of people down. And that's the biggest thing. The other two areas, which is the same at most audits, but with NADCAP, heat treatment is pyrometry. You get a lot of non-conformances around pyrometry, and calibration, as we know, no matter what the standard is always a big hitter. So it's very important that we make sure we've got those in place before we do anything else. Those are my main takeaways myself, is ensuring that we make sure we have the right forms and we do that 30-day submittal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. That was a very informative webinar, and I appreciate your time, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. For all of you listening, if you do want to have a recording, I will be sending out a recording link that you can watch with a password, and I will also be sharing the slides as a PDF as well. So those will be coming shortly after the webinar. So thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Andrew. Like I say, reach out to us if you need anything, everybody.